So we'll start from good morning to all of you. Uh, there are, I think, still more to come, but we will start. Can't delay it because of the time constraint. As I told you in the last class, what I intend to do is I'll go at my pace, and we will, in between, when it stops, at that time, what happens is that I will send one video which you can see just to understand a particular concept. I will explain that later. So I will go at my speed so that we try to understand whatever possible in the best possible way. So last class in the paper we discussed up to income tax. Now we will discuss relating to GST. Now, before we start this GST, I mean this first problem that is in GST, I would like to just explain in this thing. Let me see if I can get the whiteboard in this one. Whiteboard, where is it? I'm not able to see, but I'll explain here so you are able to understand it. When you do, the first problem generally is to compute the GST liability. But if you want to compute the GST liability, let us imagine a balance sheet. This side is the liability and this side the asset. Just to understand, nothing but to understand. Now, when you sell, you create a liability of GST, which is the output liability, which is the output liability. Which is the output. So as you sell, you have to pay this money to the department, right? Now, on the other side is the asset that you have, which is the input GST. So I'm just breaking out how these problems have to be understood. Now, input GST has got two elements. One is the opening balance and additions during the month. Now, additions during the month, all this input GST as well as both have got three elements that IGST, CGST, and SGST. Mind you, we have to keep that separately. Here also same. IGST, CGST, and SGST. We have to keep separately. Maintain it separately. So first is based on the sale, we have to calculate the total output GST. Again, their valuation principles also will get involved because you have to know the valuation, because what is the value of my thing as per the valuation rules given in the particular, problem. So based on that, you will have to fix a price, that price on which you have to calculate the output GST. Now, by default in the question, if nothing is given, it will be 9% and 9% for CGST, SGST. If it is IGST, it is 18%. That's the way they are telling you to calculate. Now, once you calculate the output liability, then you go to the input side. What is your opening balance? Generally will be given in the problem. Then again, similar to output liability, you have to determine what is your permissible input. Because only what is available you can take. So that will give you the total available input tax credit that is available for the month, including the opening balance. Once you have calculated that, then the next part is to set off the output liability with the input. Because you have already paid. Now the set off is very important because set off is rule 88 will get applied. The order of settlement that needs to be seen, and the balance amount has to be only paid or carried forward depending on that. So that is a basic method in which you need to approach these problems. So you have to understand that this is actually one aspect. This is another aspect. And this is the third aspect of it. So that way we will look at it, this problem. Okay. This is what I needed to explain before we start. Now in this problem, what is they are saying? List price. So this is, they are talking about Star is a registered supplier in Karnataka. So you have to note down, because where is he supplying is very important. From where he is supplying, because it's outside the state, it will become IGST liability. And for one machine, there's only one machine they are talking about. How is the value? Machine list price is 80,000, exclusive of items given from 2 to 1. Tax levied by local authority, 6,000. Now, this is where valuation principles comes. Discount 2% on the invoice recorded in the machine, recorded in the invoice of the machine. That it will be recorded there itself in the invoice. Packing is 4,000. These are the some of the things that they have given. Now, because it is important to understand why these things are coming. What is to be included in the value? What is to be eliminated from the value? You have to be very clear about it. Now, next is again complicating it. It is not given there, but it is receiving 5,000 as subsidy from an NGO for sale of each such machine. The price of 80,000 is after considering that. That means the amount of 8,000 which you see here, which is given here, is after considering that. This 8,000 is, that means actual price is 85. You understand? This 85,000 minus that subsidy is what is being shown here. Now the question is, should GST be charged on 85 or 80? That is the main thing. Okay. I'm just trying to understand the problem. These are the issues that are there. Now, again, we are looking at only output tax liability, mind you. You're not gone into input tax liability. So let us now what they are saying, next part of the question. During the month of February, so this is a price, there's only for a price for one item. That is what for that they have given. Now he has supplied 3 machines to intrastate, that is within state, 1 machine to interstate. So that will conclude the entire exercise relating to output tax liability. Output tax liability. So how do you, first you find out per machine what is the correct value. Using that, you have to multiply by 3 for the calculation of the total value for 3 machines for the month of February and 1 machine for interstate separately, because this on this IGST will come, on this CGST and SGST will come. That is why we have to calculate it separately. I mean, we have to keep the data separately. Now, having done that, now let us look at the other issues. As I told you, now input we are talking about. He purchased during the period intrastate. Now, all these are important because when you, as you read it, you have to take care of this. 1,20,000 exclusive of GST. Sometimes it's inclusive, then you have to be careful. For supplying the 4 machines during the month. That means he has incurred inputs, he has purchased inputs for 1,20,000. This is only the cost. So from here, you have to calculate the input tax that he can get. What in this thing? CGST and SGST. Why? Because this intrastate. Apart from that, they have given this is the opening balance. CGST, SGST, IGST. Again, the order, be careful because in the exam, you may be writing IGST first, then CGST, then SGST. By mistake, when you do it, you will take this and put it 18,000 here. Gone. Problem gone. Like this, you will write. It will make a mistake. Everything you have done, but you have not observed that this problem is there. Therefore, you will make a mistake of wrongly putting the balance here. Now, what is I said? Rate of GST will be 9% or 18%, as I told you. All the above givens are exclusive of GST. All conditions necessary for ITC have been filled. So you don't have to bother. This 1,20,000 and opening are all satisfied. Compute the minimum GST payable in cash. Now see, minimum GST. This is again very crucial thing here. So we, as I told you, that is a set of part. The set of how to do it is very crucial here. According to that, you will see what is the minimum liability you need to pay. Because that set off of rule 88 comes into play. Okay. Now, next is what? Let us look at the solution. How they have done. Just give me a minute. Let me just try to take that out. Here. This is the question part. This is the answer part. Now see what they have done. List price 80,000 that they have added. Tax levied, any other tax other than GST if charged to be included. That local taxes, anything other than GST has to be included. That is added. Packing expenses given, that is to be added. Subsidy received, see 5,000 is added by non-governmental agency. Therefore, 80,000 plus 5,000 has been taken. Now, you have to be careful. Subsidy, if received from a government agency, will it be benefited? That you need to check. I don't remember that. You please check. Because these are the small things that matter when you do it. So, subsidy, what is available as a reduction, you need to take care. Once you do that, then on this list price, because of the problem they have given, list price. What is the list price? 80,000. What is that 80,000? Total price 85,000 minus the 5,000 subsidy is what they have termed as 80,000. So, sir, why should I do it on 85,000 and 5,000? They have clearly given on the list price. What is the list price? 80,000. On that, you have to calculate the discount. This is available because it is given in the invoice itself. That's why you can claim it. There is no problem. Therefore, it's going to reduce. This is your value of one machine for the purpose of calculation of your output liability. Now, let us look at the output. 3 machines, intrastate, 93,000, one machine into 3 into 9, CGST, 93,000 into 3 into 9, SGST. Similarly, next is one machine. What is it? Interstate. 93 into 1 into 18% because it's IGST. Therefore, it is coming here. That's how your total liability is this. So one part, as I told you when I started that, look at the thing like the balance sheet. This side is the liability. What is the liability? Output GST. Now we have done output GST. Now we have to look at input GST. Now see. What is the opening balance? This is as per the problem. As I told you, you have to be careful writing here. CGST has to be written. Better to follow this format. IGST first, CGST, SGST. But this coming in the problems is given in the problem, but you have to be careful writing it as I told you. 18,000 this. Now, these are not equal. That will create problem because the opening balance is not equal. Now, input, how they have done, 1,20,000 is the purchase. Out of that, 9% will be CGST because it is intrastate purchase. So 10,000 and 10,000. Therefore, 26,000 is the IGST input there. CGST is so much. 14,000 is your SGST input. So second part, as I told you, output we have calculated, output GST we have calculated here. Input also we have calculated here, opening balance plus addition we have calculated here. So now we are going to go for set off. We are going to go for set off. How to do set off, we will check. Let us see now. For February, output liability, as we saw, 16,000, 25,000, this. Now, first is from here you are reducing, right? There is an output liability is there. So first, let me keep that in mind. Then otherwise you will not understand this. Yeah, this is that input. This is the output. Sorry, this is this is the output. So this is the output we have written here. Now input I have got 26,000 here. Out of the 26,000, first I am going to utilize towards IGST output. IGST input utilized to the extent of 16,000 here. So what is the balance? 91 thing, because 26,000 is available. This 26,000 minus 16,000 I have already, this 16,000 I am utilizing, balance 9,000. That I am going to use for 9188. Now the choice is for you. You can do under CGST or SGST. That we'll see, because that's why we are, the last part of the question was important. Now, what he's doing with the IGST. First, he's settling IGST liability. Then the balance is utilizing for CGST. So IGST liability is over, finished, exhausted. Now he has to settle CGST. Where will he go? From this 28,000, which is the total input available under CGST, he is utilizing the entire one. So this is also becoming nil, both. Now, balance is there in CGST. CGST after 28,000 minus 16,000, still balance is there. Can you use for SGST? No, you cannot use. CGST input cannot be used for SGST. Therefore, we go for SGST liability 28,000. He has got an input of 14,000. Therefore, you see 14,000 he is adjusting totally, and he still has to pay 10,418. So ultimately, he has to pay 14,418. Is it possible to reduce this cash liability? This he has to pay in cash, right? Is it possible to reduce it? Yes, he can. In another way. How? By, because see, if you look at it, there is lots available here. So instead of utilizing the IGST credit balance, that is this balance, instead of CGST, he can push it here and utilize this maximum available here, so that you can pay less. Let us see how we can do. Now see, this is up to the same, no problem. But when it comes to 9188, you can utilize it here instead of CGST. And whatever is the total liability, utilize, because it's available. See here, 28,000 is 28,000 is available here. See, 28,000 is available here for IGST credit. Out of that, he is utilizing. Still, he has got balance. So this is also becoming nil. And here he has got 25,000 total. He has utilized IGST credit. Balance 16,000 is there. How does he do it? Now he has got a credit of, see, 14,000 available credit in SGST. So balance he has to pay 1,300. Just by utilization, by adjusting a little bit, he has to pay the cash liability of only 1,230 instead of 10,400. That is what they want to ask. Because if you don't do this properly, you will be ending up paying cash liability more, which is not required. Therefore, this thinking is very important as far as GST is concerned. So let us look at the problem once more to just make you understand that, see, what they are actually asking. See this part. Minimum GST. That is why we have to do that calculation 2 times and see how it is coming. Now, in the exam, you can either do 2 times or at least the minimum one you have to understand and do it. So it's better to do 2 and do it and show. Otherwise, at least do this one and do it. Okay. So let us go to the next problem. I hope you have understood this. Let us go to try and look at the next problem. So that is just a beautiful problem. And first question is always this. How many marks it is? I hope you know how many marks it is. 8 marks. So if you know it, you can easily do. But again, the problem is with the valuation principle. The valuation also is an issue. Valuation, you have to be careful. What is to be included, what is not to be included. Now let us go to the next problem. What is the next problem? Here. Green Agro registered person is a registered person, mind you. Relating it to February. What are they asking at the value of taxable supplies and AGST law? Now, all these are items that are coming from exemption notification. So, if you know, if you have to take care of the, as I've told you, exemption notification, again, revise. Keep reading again and again. For example, rearing of sheep, you have to know there's nothing else. In that exemption notification, is there, it is exempt or not. Artificial insemination of horses, is there or not. Sugar processing of sugarcane to jaggery, is it there or not? Milling of paddy. This is what I was telling. I will send you a video of understanding what is milling of paddy into rice. That also you need to know. Fumigation of fumigation, service by way of fumigation in a warehouse of agriculture produce. Is it there or not? Nothing. It 6 marks. If you know, if you do this exemption, remember again and again, revise again, and now you got a lot of time. You can still revise. Every day, look at it once. If you do it, you can easily get 6 marks. Taxable value, they are asking. So let us look at the solution straight away so that we don't waste time on this. Because you know the items, it will also come there. So now see. Service of rearing of sheep exempt, entry number 54 nil. Artificial insemination of horses, no exemption. Why? Artificial insemination livestock other than horses there. See, exactly they're asking that minus plus. That is what they're asking. See, it is taxable. It is taxable supply. Processing of sugarcane into jaggery, no exemption available. Exemption is available in respect of process carried out at agricultural farm which do not alter the characteristic of agriculture produce. Processing of sugarcane to jaggery changes the essential characteristics of sugarcane. Therefore, it is a taxable service. Milling of paddy into rice, not eligible for exemption under this circular, 7,50,000. Service by way of fumigation of warehouse, is exemption is available under entry number 53A, nil. Therefore, taxable service is so much. Finished. Problem finished. 6 marks. Just see the 6 marks, the 8 marks in the first question and 6 marks here. Which is easier? It's easier. Exemption you have to remember only. That is the only thing to be remembered. Okay. Now let's look at the next problem. Next part of the problem. Actually, this is, I don't know how many marks. Yes, 6 marks only, I think. Let's see. Now, this is 6 marks, A part. Now, this is 4 marks. So, 10 marks you can easily get if you know it. Mind you, in this question, they are not asking you to calculate. They are not. This is where I'm telling last class also. I told you, don't bother about calculating taxes. Only taxable supplies only they have said. Don't sit and calculate the liability and all that. It's not required here. Now, let us look at the next problem. Next part of the problem. Second. Satyasai Resident Welfare Association registered under GST That 30 members paying 8,000 as maintenance charges per month for sourcing goods and service from third persons for common interest. Now, here is doctrine of mutuality, clubs, etc., etc. Mind you, earlier this was exempt under the service tax law, but today in GST they are specifically included so that it doesn't escape taxation. This has been a issue of contention for a very, very long time, even in income tax as well as in service tax. But in GST, they have clearly given that it is taxable. So the doubt is not there. The association purchased a water term. So this is as far as output is concerned, output liability. Again, like the earlier one. And they have purchased a pump. So this is a capital expenditure. How much? 9,000. Availed input services. Don't get mixed up with these two. This is for fixed asset purchase. Input is 9,000. Input services, other than this, 23,000 they have got. For inclusive, this 23,000, out of which 3,600 is the GST input. So GST input is how much? 9,000 for asset and 3,600 for services. So total is so much. Now, can we take this? Yes, because entirely this amount is taxable. Therefore, the total amount can be, even fixed assets can be, input on fixed assets can be claimed. Now, what is the GST liability they are asking? See. So, what is the liability? 18% GST rate. Intra-state they have given. Therefore, 8,000 is the gross. So, 8,000 into 30. Now, the confusion will be, sir, 8,000 is including GST or exclusive? Now, that part of it, you will have to take a call and give a note saying that this is exclusive of GST. You have to add that. So, on this total amount, you have to keep 9% CGST, 9% SGST. Again, like the first problem, we are computing output liability and then input. There's no opening balance and all. And they've clearly given all no opening balance ITC and all conditions met, they are given. Input is how much? These two put together. So let us look at the solution. Charges is 8,000 into 30, maintenance charges. This is the liability for the resident welfare association, not for any individual. GST exemption is available only if the amount is collected is 7,000 and or less. And now this is also important. If it was less than 7,000, there was no tax liability. Because it is more than 7,500, is there. So this part of it, you'll have to write in the note that this is why it is taxable. 2,400, how? 8,000. And this is, you have to take a call saying that this is not inclusive of GST. GST on maintenance charges is how much? 18% on 2,50,000. That is what they have given. See, assume that 8,000 given the problem is exclusivity. Therefore, liability output is 43,000. This is output. Input is how much? 9,000 for the capital goods, 3,000 for the services. So total this thing, this is the net liability to be paid. Finished. Problem solved. 6 marks. 4 marks you got easily. Now let's look at the next problem. Again, specifically they are asking. So if you know the specific answer, you can easily do it. ABC, okay, 10 minutes more. Before that, we'll try to complete this part, this segment. ABC Cinemas is a registered person engaged in making supply of services by way of admission to cinematographic films, multiplex, etc. Consolidated tax invoice they are issuing at the close of each day under section 31(3)(b), read with proviso. Now, during this month of October, the department raised objection for this practice and asked to issue separate invoices. Advise ABC for the procedure. So let us see what the answer is. Now, again, unless you know the provision, you cannot write it. If you write something which you don't know, then it will be story. So here see, XYZ Cinema is registered. There some name is there, different name. Supplying by way of admission of exhibition cinematographic is a consolidated invoice at the close of, there's a question, sorry, 1 second. This is the answer. So option to issue consolidated invoice not available in case of registered person who is engaged in making services by way of exhibition or similar. So he cannot do it. However, by virtue of 54.4a, such person can issue an electronic ticket, and the said ticket can be taken as a deemed tax invoice for the purpose of GST. Now, unless you know this provision, you cannot write it. So you have to write like this: electronic ticket shall be taken as invoice even if such ticket does not contain details of recipient of service but contains information mentioned in Rule 46. At least there's something relating to that. If you write, that is required, but otherwise you cannot. If you don't know, it will be difficult. But at least write. What I'm trying to say, even if you don't know, as an attempt, don't leave the question. Just don't leave it. Now, what is the second question? A Limited is a registered supplier and wishes to transport cargo by road between two cities at a distance of 368 kilometers. Calculate the validity of eBay bill under 138, this thing, for transport of goods. If it is over-dimensional transport, over-dimensional cargo, or otherwise, both they are asking the validity. How many kilometers? 138. This is the validity for eBay bill. Now again, let us look at the solution. It is given clearly. This is a table that says that over-dimensional cargo means first 20 kilometers 1 day, remaining 348, total 368 kilometers is gone. So that is every 20 kilometers he has to, it will be added. So it is relevant for only, what is saying, the e-way bill is relevant for up to 20 kilometers and one additional day for every 20 kilometers. So first 20 kilometers is 1 day. Then 348 left. 348 into 20 is another 18 days it is valid. If you take, therefore, total validity of the e-way bill is 19 days. But if it is not over dimensional, then what happens? Then it is 1 day first 100 kilometers, not 20. For the balance, how much? 268 divided by 100, because each 100 days, no, only 3 days is there. They are rounding off to that. Only it's valid for 4 days. So there is a big difference between, I don't know what is that over dimensional, I have to see that. But if it is over dimensional cargo, then it is valid. E-way bill one, if you take 19 days, otherwise it's only for 4 days. But be clear about this provision. You should be able to then write it. Let us look at the next part of it. Aggregate turnover of Prithvi for a registered person for financial year 140 lakhs and 170. Whether he needs to file GST return is the, what is the question. So let us see what it's saying. Annual return, GST return 9C means 9 means annual return. That is what they are asking. It is saying that annual return under 9 for this thing, all these years, it is not mandatory if it is below 2 crores. See, if it is below 2 crores, it's not mandatory. But if they want to file it, they can file it. Why it is important to file? If you have made any mistakes, it is better to file and correct it. Otherwise, it will be deemed to have been filed. It shall be deemed to have been furnished if you don't file it before the due date. So if you don't file it, it will be deemed to be filed. Therefore, it is not mandatory, yet it is better to file it. Last part of the question is this one. Anurag, a famous author, engaged in services of transmitting, permitting of copyright under section 13 relating to original literary works. Explain in brief the conditions which an author can choose under forward charge. See, normally this copyright, he is writing a book. So the publisher is supposed to do reverse charge. But can he do forward charge is what they are asking. Now, that is the question. That means he is actually not required to do forward charge. The publisher is supposed to do the reverse charge basis because they are going to pay the money. They are getting the service. But in this case, they are asking, can he go for forward charge? The answer is yes, but there are certain conditions in which it has to be done. So let us look at the solution. Transmitting of, permitting copyright, etc. The author has taken, these are the conditions. The author has taken GST registration. The author files a declaration with the jurisdictional of officer that he wants to go for forward charge. And when can he option can be availed? Before the commencement of the financial year. Further, the author declares CGST commissioner that he shall not withdraw it during the 1 year. So once it's taken for a year, it will continue. Author makes similar declaration on the invoice that he is issuing to the publisher that he has already done it under forward charge. Then he can go for forward charge. That's a basic idea behind. Let's look at the next part. Under section 29 of this thing, suspension of registration. What are the conditions in which a person's registration can be done? And also one more thing relating to suspension with rule number this thing applied for. What is the period of suspension and manner? So, and what is, under what circumstances the officer can cancel the registration of a registered person? So this you will have to refer the text only, because this is purely theory. So they have given the paragraph, suspension, he has applied for cancellation, registration shall be deemed to be suspended from the date of submission of application or the date on which the cancellation is sought, whichever is later, pending completion of service. So once you apply for cancellation, it will be kept suspended from the date of submission. Till that date, it will be suspended. Or the date on which the cancellation is sought. So what are they asking here actually? They are asking, under what provision of this thing read with 21A relating to suspension of registration if the registered person applied for cancellation out, what is the period and manner of suspension? That is what they are asking. So here, if you look at it, they are saying that from the, what is the period? He should have applied for cancellation and date of from the date of submission when he's applying, or the date from which the cancellation has been. You may ask for a later date, or you are applying for cancellation, but what they are saying is that the registration will be deemed to be suspended from the date on which you have submitted, or you are asking for a future date, then that date, whatever is it. Cancellation, please refer the text or your material. For that, there are certain points in the material which says that these are the conditions under which the proper officer can cancel the registration. So that you please check, because it's theory question. But the good part is it's only in alternative. So here there is an alternative for you. These are both 5 marks, but you have got an alternative. Okay. So there's an alternative here. So that completes this GST part of the thing, I believe. Yeah. So we'll just assemble back and sometime. In the meanwhile, I'll send you the that video. Just have a look at it. Whatever possible, you look at it. We'll start the next income tax paper after this. Okay. Just stay tuned.